will help you be in 2 places at one time are the people that you need to talk to. Mary and her team at Simply Done Concierge help you meal prep, do some shopping, do some errand running, do some dog sitting while you're out doing other things that only you can do. They can take care of the rest of the stuff on your to-do list. Go to Simply Done Concierge, let them know what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Every week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and all the towns around us. And each week, about 33, well, exactly 33 chapters, about 565 to 570 members get together. Our job is to help each other grow our business. And every now and then, we like to take a trip to the beach, folks. It's summertime, just like you want to go to the beach. We want to go to the beach, talk with our friends in the Wilmington region. And our local small business success story from the Wilmington region today is Mike Kelsey with StormGuard Roofing and Construction. Mike is in a core group called Coastal Carolina Visionaries. So if you or someone you know is looking to grow your business in the Wilmington area, the professionals in Mike's group is the group you want to be involved with. Mike, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Mike. Doing great.
All right, summertime. So we know what that means. We're not going to mention the H word, but we're going to mention all kinds of other things. We got heat, we got rain, we got this, that, and the other. I believe what I've learned as most of us at our age, longtime homeowners, one of the things we pay little to no attention to is our roof. Because if it's not leaking, it must be working, but that's not quite accurate, is it?
It is not. It is not. Absolutely. I
What
think
are
it's the one
good?
thing we don't look at often.
Yep.
So
So what should we be doing? What if we don't see, even though we don't see a leak, what kind of things might we know it's time to get somebody, a professional like you, to come look at it?
there are a few indicators. Sometimes when you're on the ground, you're driving up your driveway and you notice something on the roof where a shingle looks like it may be out of place, creased, blown up. um, or it looks like you have some gathering of debris, leaves and sticks and other things on the roof. Sometimes that's an indicator that there may be something else going on, and you would want to call a professional out to get a quick look at the roof. It's highly recommended by most insurance companies to have your roof looked at least once a year. And sometimes it's a good thing before storm season, in the late winter, early spring, and then after storm season to give it another quick look.
And especially with houses that are 10, 20, 30 years old, we know in normal conditions, there's an accepted lifespan of a roof. And I think most of us have no idea what that number is, do we?
Yeah, that's very true. I think many people sometimes don't know what type of roof they have.
Mm.
When you look at different types of shingles, a very thin shingle kind of gives you some vertical lines running up and down the roof where you can see some structure to that roof, those vertical lines. That typically is an indicator of a three tab roof, which normally has about 15 to 20-year lifespan on it. And when you're hitting about that 10 to 15-year mark, you should get it looked at just to make sure. And those are a little more vulnerable to wind
Mm.
damage, so you want to pay attention to that. And then an architectural roof has a little more sporadic kind of layers to it when you look at that roof, and that's typically a 25 to 30-year roof. And at about that 15, 20-year mark, you definitely want to be able to get somebody in there to take a look at that also.
BNI has taught me many things over the years, and I've come to learn something about in the last year or so that there are actually roofers who do not or will not go on a roof. And Mike, first time I heard that, I looked at the guy, he's a roofer here in Raleigh. I'm like, dude, you're kidding me. And he goes, I absolutely am not kidding you. How in the world can a roofer that doesn't go on the roof tell me there's a problem with my roof? What are they trying to get me to believe?
That's very difficult to do. I think you always have to have eyes on and hands on to be able to determine what the issue is. Even if you're using a drone, and we have drones and we can use those, there's AI, artificial intelligence in there that can really kind of determine variations within the material. And it kind of gives you an indicator that something's going on, but still you need to get up on that roof and you need to be able to look to see what's going on. And it's, I think, sometimes when we're out here in the beach, we get those 3-story beach homes, 4-story beach homes, and it can be a little questionable sometimes as you get higher and higher. So sometimes I think people are like, yeah, I think I know what's going on up there. I'll be able to take care of it for you. But it's always important to have somebody get up on that roof, assess what that damage is, and then make a proper recommendation to resolve the issue.
And you have I thought it was common sense that you're in one of those industries that you have to put your hands on the product to understand what's really wrong. You may see a shingle that's kind of up a little bit, but you don't know what that means till you put your hands on it, do you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a few times where we, from a distance, we may think one thing is going on. And then once we get up there, we're able to determine that it could be a deeper issue or it's something that's minor. Many times we'll go up there and those are minor issues. And sometimes we're able to take care of it right away for a homeowner. But I think when many homeowners have the ability to have a, contractor go up there and make a professional recommendation, it gives them a better peace of mind.
I like to give, public service announcements whenever I can based on the stuff I've learned, and the reason why folks not only because we know each other, but I'm telling folks,
Mhm.
you want a professional roofer to deal with because you can help homeowners deal with their insurance companies, which can be tricky at times.
Absolutely. And there are many times that it warrants a claim, and sometimes it could be a minor repair. That could be a newer roof. It could be a new build. There are new builds that we'll get up on. Sometimes the flashing hasn't been installed correctly, and there's an issue there. Skylights have an issue. So it doesn't matter if a homeowner, sees or thinks they have an issue, regardless of the age of that roof, they should get a professional out. And many times we like to pride ourselves on being the insurance process experts. Our ability to walk a homeowner through every step of the process makes that insurance claim process much easier for them. And that's why you bring somebody like us on.
Before I really got to know the home insurance world, I thought when something happened, the logical first call to make is to your insurance agency to talk to them about something, but man, that can open up a whole can of worms you don't want anything to do with.
Sometimes there's a deterrent there. And if you call your agent or if you call your insurance company, they're going to ask some questions. And most of the time, when you call in, it's somebody reading from a script. And that's their job is to collect information that will be handed off to an adjuster. So, what we like to do is really prepare our homeowners. What I like to do is, in my past, being in the service in the military, I was an intelligence analyst, and everything we had to do was about preparing a case file. Everyone loves watching crime scene shows now and everything. It's about creating a case, and driving the ability to get your thought and process and idea of what's going on accepted by the other party. So when we file these claims, we go through a due diligence and a process that helps collect the data and present that data and information in the proper way to help drive an insurance approval. And you really have to have somebody with you that's going to work on your behalf.
And the other thing I learned on that is when you call your insurance agency, not your agent, but if you call the claims number, they will open a claim for you. Even if the number is 0, you now have I don't wanna call it a black mark or an X mark or whatever, but now you filed a claim which could impact the rates you pay every year.
It goes on your record. Absolutely right. And there are a few things out there where the insurance industry may not tell you that there are some indicators out there for a homeowner who could be identified as a high risk. And within a few year period, if you filed so many claims, regardless of the payout or the outcome, it gets put into a system. So if you decide to go through that part, and it happens a lot in storm environments, the initial response from homeowners when an event happens is to file a claim. They see water come in, they see something happening. And that's one of the reasons why, a company like ourselves, we offer that free assessment, that free consultation. Let's find out what's going on first, and then we'll make a professional recommendation on your
Yep.
next steps.
Did you have a question?
Um, Mike, there are more and more popular these days. Metal roof. What what's your opinion?
I like the metal roofs. I think they're longer lasting. They'll withstand sometimes some of the elements, and they're very popular along the coast.
Hmm.
You'll see metal roofs more out in the rural areas and along the coast, and they have a tendency to stand up better to some of those weather elements. I love all roofing, all types of roofing. I am not even more about one type of roof than other. I tried as a roofing company be knowledgeable and present options to a homeowner that would be the best option for them.
Yeah, I always thought about the fact that on the regular roof you can walk. On the metal roof you may slip.
You may slip. We have some shoes. We have special shoes for the asphalt roofing and for the metal roofing.
Okay.
We have both of those. One of the things I think people aren't aware of is the cost associated to a metal roof
Mhm.
and versus an asphalt roof. I think sometimes they're not as fully aware of how much more that's going to cost them.
Does it last significantly longer?
It can last longer. Absolutely.
Can I assume you are not afraid of heights?
I am not afraid of heights. In fact, I enjoy it, and kind of gives me a little bit of an adrenaline rush when I'm able to get up there. And people within the roofing industry and within our franchise system know me pretty well for my numerous selfies that I have a tendency to take on top of roof, and I love it. I get up there, and that's all I do is I'll take that selfie every time I can, and the higher, the better.
Yeah. Okay. And there are probably sometimes, some days you probably shouldn't be up there, but you're experienced enough, you know what you're doing, right?
I will always, from my background also is assessing safety,
Yep.
and that's
There you
one of
go.
our number one things. And I won't get up there, and I'll tell the
Yeah.
homeowner, we need to wait until the conditions are better. And absolutely, we take safety first, and training our salespeople and even my production team. We're always fully aware of that. And if we have to delay something,
Yep.
most of the homeowners understand.
And another thing, and I believe I'm saying this correctly, that if a homeowner has a roofer, let's say there was hail damage or a storm come through and there is some issue with the roof now, some roofers will automatically tell the homeowner, "Oh, yeah, you need a brand new roof," because it benefits them, but they probably should get a second opinion on a brand new roof, correct?
I agree. I think if it's warranted and
Mhm,
needed, I think they should have a second opinion. There are many times where damage has been identified on a roof, and it could be minimal.
mhm.
And the age of the roof could be 10 years, and it's a 25, 30-year roof. But what happens is when that roof compromised. So the roofing system, that roof membrane, could be compromised with damage, whether it's wind, like driven debris, or hail, or other things have compromised that shingle. It washes away that asphalt and that fiberglass membrane. It ends up becoming exposed. So once the roof has been compromised, it's best to kind of take that approach to fix that issue. Now, it could be through a repair, or if there's enough damage, then typically it'll warrant a full roof replacement. But we do recommend a lot of times that somebody at least consult
Yep,
with another person in the industry to make sure it's the right decision for them.
yep. And again, I bang the drum on this one for home services people, to you homeowners or just, renters, doesn't matter. If somebody's coming to your place to fix something, ask them for their insurance. Don't ask them if they have it. Ask them for a copy of their certificate of insurance. Make sure they're insured, because if they come on your property and they get hurt and they don't have insurance, it's going back to your homeowner.
That's exactly right.
but we don't. We're like, oh, they look reputable. They have their name on a truck and their shirt is pressed, and yeah, they look like a nice guy. I'm sure they have that, right? But we don't ask, do we?
Yeah, and it's I think sometimes as people present themselves, how articulate they
Yep.
are, the truck is branded,
Oh yeah.
there's
Yep.
assumptions made through that piece. What I like about, and why I bought a franchise is because we're mandated and we're required to do certain, we have to have a brick and mortar. We can't operate out of the house. We're required those minimum insurances that are needed to operate in the industry. So a lot of those things and the branding itself. So I think, we get a little bit of help to kind of create that image online. And also, we like to present those items to homeowners. So when we go in, we'll typically give them a copy of our insurances to let them know that we are covered.
And now that a lot of people in the Wilmington area know that you are with StormGuard and they know what you do, anytime a storm rolls through or a hurricane rolls through and you're at a networking event or hanging out with friends, they're like, "Hey, Mike, quick question for you." And you know what that means, right?
It does every time. And I love having the ability to give that general information to
Yep.
people. I
Yeah.
think they appreciate that sometimes. It's not being charged. One of those things I think when I get a call in all the time and somebody's like, "Well, how much do you charge to come out?" I
Yeah.
don't.
Nope.
I don't charge to come out. I'm gonna give you a free consultation and I'll give you a free estimate and that recommendation. And I think it helps win people over, and that's what helps build our network.
Yeah, and you can't if I call up and say, "Hey, my house is X square foot and the roof is X years old and the house is X years old, what kind of price can I get from you for a new roof?" It's like, "No, man, you gotta don't ever take a price over the phone from a roofer, please."
People price shop. I
Yes.
always say I
Yep.
have like my typical customer. When you go into business, you're doing some
Mhm,
things in your marketing strategies to identify who you like to work with. A lot of times customers are like, I'm out here choosing,
mhm.
who I'm going to use. And in business, sometimes the owners and those businesses like to choose the customers they like to work with.
Yep.
So, when I get on the phone and somebody is price shopping, I like to ask more questions
Mhm.
because if I'm just responding to their immediate need, I'm no different than anyone else. But if I take time to ask the right questions on what they have going on, it stands out. Then they want to meet us,
Yeah.
and that's why I train my guys to have that approach. Is I want them to be eager to have my team come out to their house.
And some of the best information you can get if they already have a price or two is, so what did these people tell you about X, Y, and Z, which is what
Mhm.
separates us? And usually they're like, oh, they never brought that up.
It's like kind material, is what I like to always say. They'll say, hey, you were $1,000 more than the
Mhm.
other contractor. Well, can we take a minute and talk about what materials they offered? What was
Yep.
the roofing system that they offered you? What was the warranty? And then we start to talk through that. And, I think when you educate a homeowner or property manager, when you educate those individuals on how to better approach the process, we typically win.
Yeah.
We'll typically win, and it's just because, it's really putting out all those details. And if I don't, it's fine because I've had homeowners come back to me in a bid we didn't win,
Mhm.
and they'll ask me for something else, or
Yeah.
I'll get a referral. I
Yeah.
didn't win their bid, but I'm going to build their neighbor's house, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, we had Jeremy Gunn on from
Okay.
JBG Painting. And we're
Yeah.
talking about jobs you like doing, jobs you don't like doing. He said they will never, ever, ever do a job where the customer goes, "I bought the paint, can you come paint the house?"
Oh,
He's like, "Nope,
yeah.
not even gonna talk about it."
Yeah, yeah. There's when we first opened, I had a homeowner that said, "I've got all the materials. I
Yeah.
just need you to install it."
No,
I'll tell you what. I'll come out and talk to you, and I'll see what you have going on. But of course, we didn't do that job.
no, because you're on the
So
hook. Yeah, he buys C minus material, right? The
yeah,
roof starts leaking in about an hour.
and it was combined. It was different manufacturers.
Yeah.
So we like to
Oh,
stay within
yeah.
brands because those roofing components work better
Yeah.
as a unit. And that was one of the things I told him. And and his response to it, Mike, was like, well, I can go return these other items and get the ones that match the others, and then I can still have you install it. And I was like,
Yeah.
if I do it, sir, I'm going to purchase those items and I'm going to install it for
Yeah.
you. I said, I can't. And
Yeah.
that's what I told him. I said, I can't warranty this
Yeah.
unless I control these parts of the process.
Yeah, and that's what people are buying is that peace of mind that somebody
Mhm.
did the job with the correct materials in the correct way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so prior to StormGuard, you were a franchisee with ServPro in Fort Lauderdale, and I
Yeah.
know that you had plenty with the weather down there, you probably had plenty of work, right?
It was a lot of work. It was a great experience to have to understand the inside of the home. Now we're operating
Yeah,
on the outside of the home with the claims process. And my wife and I have been in the insurance industry, restoration industry for almost 14 years now. But with the Servpro time, it was really kind of understanding how to um, identify issues. We had different tactics on that side: thermal cameras, water moisture meters, hygrometers, all these pieces of equipment to find out what's happening. And it really kind of helped get me into that home service industry and learning how to work with homeowners and identify issues, create solutions, right, and make recommendations. And I think and it was Southern Florida, so it was
yeah.
definitely a different experience down there. We dealt with a lot of condos and apartment buildings and towers where it was multiple floors we worked on. So it was a great crash course to break into the home restoration industry.
Nice. So before that, you were an intelligence analyst in the Army.
I was. I
You
was.
can tell us some things probably about what you did, but what was the overview? Because I love that people go into the military. My wife's side of the family is big military. My dad was in the Air Force during the Korean War, so I applaud any type of first responder that's walking into something that the rest of us are walking out of. But when you say intelligence, you're like, okay, you have my undivided attention. So first of all, what got you in the Army?
I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I am a North Carolina native. And my dad served in the 82nd out there. And then both of my grandfathers served Korean War, World War II. So I come from a long family line of servicemen. And, it was one of those things growing up in Fayetteville. I'm like, when I was younger, what am I going to do? What do I have plans to do? And when I was in high school, I had a few hobbies. I loved to surf. Imagine that. Now I'm down at the coast. But I love to surf and love to do those other things. And when I went in to talk to the Army guys, my goal was to get college money.
Yeah.
Let me try to use this job and this process to pay for my education. And when I went in and talked to the recruiter, they were like, we can send you to a few spots. He mentioned Hawaii. He mentioned Fort Ord, California by Santa Cruz. And I'm like, as soon as I said something about surfing, he's just reeling me in.
Yep.
It's like too easy there. And we're not even talking about a job at that point. It's just talking about where I want the Army to send me.
Yeah.
So I enlisted and went to Fort Ord, California, Monterey,
Oh, you
right by
did
Santa
get that.
Cruz.
Oh, okay.
So I did get to go out there, and I came in originally in the beginning of my service as an infantryman. So jumping out of airplanes, rappelling out of helicopters, all the fun stuff. And basically over years and through deployments, I became a little worn down based on the amount of activity. I'll put it that way. And the Army said, well, let's let you do something different. So I had a medical transfer over to intelligence. So the latter part of my career, the last 6, 7 years, I worked in the intelligence field. And it intrigued me at first when I enlisted, but I really wanted to do some of those fun things and get paid to do it. And I felt confident that I was going to be able to do what I wanted to do as I got older. And when the opportunity came up to work on the intelligence side, I've always felt like I was a very analytical person, and being able to kind of break into that side of the career was a fantastic thing to do. I'd already had so much operational time in the field, running missions and running operations, that I now had to take a step back and work behind the scenes and prepare information and data to help our day-to-day soldiers operate in a safer manner and be a little more diligent in their operations itself. And it was a very fulfilling. The first part of my career was fulfilling, absolutely, but this second part had a much bigger fulfilling thing for me. I just felt like I was able to give a lot more and keep soldiers safe. That's what I really kind of was driven by.
So based on the reason what you first started doing in the Army, I believe you would fall into the category of thrill seeker.
100%.
Uh,
Still a little
so
bit now getting on these
oh,
big roofs.
yep, no doubt in my mind. I'm just picturing you as an 11-year-old boy with a bike with no brakes, a ramp and a hill, and you and your buddies are challenging each other to, "Hey, watch this."
And I guarantee there's a picture of that somewhere in the past. Absolutely.
Do you have a good wipeout story from way back when?
Oh, I do. Many times on the skateboard. And one of the times I know I was, I mean, sometimes where we feel overly confident,
Mhm.
right? I was just riding down. I was probably, it was middle school time frame, and we were working on bikes, just let's rig these bikes, BMX bikes. And I'm just riding down, holding another bike on my shoulder,
Oh,
to
good,
get down to my buddy's house.
good.
And what could go wrong?
No.
One hand on the handlebar, holding another bike, and I'm going as fast as I can to get to my buddy's house because I'm running late. And I wiped out, and it
Oh.
was an amazing wipeout. And it took me a little while to recover from that, but I did get right back on the bike and finish getting to my buddy's house, with carrying the bike.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of brush it off and
Yep.
go.
Yeah. Back when we were growing up, just rub some dirt on it. You'll be good, right? That was
I Yeah,
that was our
absolutely. Still that mentality.
that was our rehab. Yeah, just rub some dirt
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you get a call from Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos tomorrow, you're going on their next shuttle into space?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Yep.
Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, my wife may not like it,
No,
but
no, no.
I would take it.
I'm sure you have a good insurance person. All your paperwork's, T's are crossed and I's are dotted. But
Oh, I think my wife has always focused a lot of effort on that, probably
yeah.
for good reason.
Oh yeah, yep. She's a smart woman. Yeah. So climbing Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Hood, all those, is that on the list too?
I did some stuff over in Mount Rainier,
Yeah.
out in when I was stationed out in Seattle area, and then in Colorado, Pikes Peak and a couple others. They've got a whole bunch of. There's a website out there called 14ers, where 14,000 plus
Oh, okay.
hilltops, and you can map them and climb several. But when I was stationed out in Colorado, that's what I would do. I'd get out and run the trails in the Rockies and climb as much as I can. But it's a little. I'm in flat country right now, so it's a little difficult to do any of that.
It's funny looking back on what you start connecting the dots. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. Parachuter. I remember him when he was this old. So talking about your bride, Patty, always like to ask folks, married couples that are in business together. Here's a question I did not ask you the other day at our networking event is, how did you two meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
Yeah, I think we tell the story the same way. When I was stationed out in Fort Ord, California, Monterey area, we were younger, and buddies and I would head out to the dance clubs and the bars in San Francisco, San Jose area. And, you know, we, uh, we were there, and I happened to, notice my wife, and my buddy was dating one of her friends, her best friend. And, just kind of made eye contact, and, we ended up dancing, for a while on there, and just seemed to really get along. Her friends were like, making recommendations to stay away from the military guys. They may be trouble, is what they were telling her. But I always laugh because my wife's never going to do what she's told anyways. So so we had our first date, and really just got along so well. And, we were opposites. We definitely had different likes and things. And I think that adds to the relationship itself. But yeah, we definitely tell the story the same. And it really hasn't changed much at all. And I think the kids enjoy hearing it often. Our kids do.
Oh, yeah. So where was the first official date?
So it was at the Edge in Palo Alto, just across the street from Stanford University.
And you picked up the check.
Man, I don't even think I bought her a drink that night. I was a poor army guy at that point. I was making $600 a month. So I don't know what she was thinking. I don't, but it definitely wasn't for the money. I can say that. So
Could it have been for the dancing skills you showed?
I had a little bit of dancing skills. When she first saw me, I was dancing in the middle of a bachelorette party.
Okay.
And yeah, she saw a little bit of that. And she thought about it a little bit. What kind of guy is this? And and I think she realized it definitely wasn't the other way, that I was, a typical Carolina boy hanging out in California. So
All right, so walk me through the logistics on this. So a young couple meets out in California. One is in the Army, one is not. You went out on a couple dates. It's like, okay, I think there's something here. What were the next steps? How the world do you guys get to Wilmington?
yeah, we at that point our base, Fort Ord, California, was closing. And they were as part of the drawdown where they were closing some of the bases in the early 90s. And we were getting transferred up to Fort Lewis, Washington, Seattle area. And we knew we wanted to get married. We were young, though. We met at 19 and 20, and we knew we wanted to get married. I think one of the things with the military, it enables couples to get married earlier with the medical insurance,
Yep.
the housing allowance. It helped us fast start our family that way. So I think we thought about it, and I said, this is the one. And we talked about it a little bit. And I was more kind of digging a little bit. Let me make sure she's going to say yes before I do this,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Like a good lawyer, don't ask a
That's
question
it.
you don't
That's
know the
it. See,
answer to.
analytical side. Let's gather all the data and make sure we're going to get a yes, right? And basically, I asked the question, and of course she said yes. And I think we saw that I was going to leave, so maybe that kind of rushed it a little bit, for us to get married. But it was the right choice. She left home, and we moved up to Fort Lewis area, and I had thought about at that time to go ROTC, leave the Army, and I was an enlisted member in service there, and get commission. I was going to try to leave, go to college, come back in as an officer. But when we got up to Fort Lewis, I made sergeant. And we really kind of loved the family that we were a part of in the military there. And one of the hiccups we were up there for about a year and a half, and I got orders to go to Korea, out and serve on the DMZ, which was unaccompanied.
Yep.
So I could not take Patty, and I had to send Patty back home. And we had only been married together for about a year and a half, less than 2 years, and I had to send her back home while I was in Korea for a year. So that was a difficult thing to do, to get married, then have to leave right away. And while we were in Korea, those are the old days where we didn't have as much of the email or cell phones or anything else. So we're raking up high phone bills and everything, just staying in touch with each other. And, we spent a lot of time talking, about next steps in our family and what we want to do. And I think we even grew stronger during that time, and ended up getting orders to go to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, serve with 101st, and talked about starting a family. And I think at that point we had a decision that we were committed to each other, but also committed to, riding that course with the military.
Yeah.
And we really just kind of stayed that course. And the time went by really quick. But when we hit 2001, when we hit 9/11, I was in for 10 years plus, and it was really a peacetime Army. And then 9/11 happened, and it changed. and it
Yep.
changed our family. And I was already over 10 years, and it was talking about trying to make it to 20 to retire. And the greatest thing about the reason why I was so successful was because I had her.
Yep.
She kept the house together, she kept everything together, finances. I mean, it was a lot to deal with all the deployments and everything going through, but having a rock and a strong person there, you know, kept it all together.
Yeah, and talking about college, I saw where you had gone to Austin P, and then you went to Everglades University. I'm not familiar with that football team and how good they are, so
No, it's down in Florida. Yeah, it was. So it's funny. I always say my undergrad was like a 20-year degree, 20-year degree. So what I did when I came into the military is they have college money they'll give you, GI Bill, post 9/11. And while you're in service, you can actually use a separate fund to pay for school.
nice.
So, and you don't have to use your GI Bill and your post 9/11. So what I did is I took courses throughout my 20 years to get my undergrad, to get my bachelor's. And I took my last few classes right when I retired from Everglades University, which is under Nova in Southern Florida. They're under that
Okay,
Nova
yep,
system there.
I know them.
And basically once I retired, I didn't want to stop. So with that university, talking with them, I did one of their executive master's programs, to get through that thing pretty quick. And I was able to use my additional money, the GI Bill post 9/11, to pay for that college.
Good,
So technically, the military gave me an undergrad and a graduate degree,
good,
paid for,
yeah, I like it.
no money owed.
You gave 'em some pretty good service time in exchange, right?
Yeah, but you had to understand how to use the system
Oh,
too.
yeah, everything
Yeah,
is,
and
and
that was one of the things about it.
just like we're talking about a competent roofer who knows how to deal with insurance companies, gotta know the system. Where are the
That's it.
goalposts? Yeah. Uh,
Exactly right.
so when we were at the networking event the other day, we're talking about, the 3 of us were talking, and we started talking about grandkids, and hopefully you guys have some on the
Mm.
way here soon, but you got a couple of kids. Would you like to share the story about the kids having to answer who gets mom, who gets dad?
Oh, that was a great story,
Yes,
wasn't
it was.
it? As the kids get a little older here, my son's 27, almost 28. They're going to be getting married here soon. He's engaged and they're going to get married. And my daughter's about to be 21 here soon. And, it's funny because, the kids would talk to us sometimes when they were in the adolescent years. And, they'd have the general conversations, at the dining room table and little things. And then they go to their room, they're doing homework and they're kind of alone, right? And it seems like when they have left the house, we talk to them every day,
Yep.
more so than when they were in the house. And it's like we're consulting with them on
Mhm.
their life decisions, and they want our feedback, they want our input. And I think that's a success story, just how my wife and I were able to raise them, that, they want to talk to us more, they want to get that feedback. So I was sitting there, and I think it was during one of the holidays we were together, and I said, you know, I have a question for you guys, to my daughter and my son. When your mom and I get older, and the question came up because my wife's father, he was a heart transplant patient, 29 years on his heart.
Wow.
And he had gone through a second divorce, and we brought him into the house. He wasn't the great, he didn't have great health, and it just made sense for him to be with us, for that time. And as we were going through that, I was like, maybe I'll ask the kids and see what they think about us, and which one would they be willing to take in or send away. And we asked them, and basically they said, oh, mom's going to a home. There's no doubt about it, both of them, same answer, right? And then my son's like, oh yeah, you're definitely living with us. And then my daughter's like, oh, he's going to be with me or whatever. And I was like, well, and my wife's like, why? They're like, well, dad won't sit down. He's going to keep going. He'll mow the lawn 3 or 4 times. He'll just keep doing these things to help us, and we don't have to entertain him. But if mom's here, she's going to be trying to get entertained all the time. So it's pretty low maintenance with dad, and he can get stuff done around the house.
And you can cook.
And I can cook.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
hey, you get free help like that, the guy. Yeah, you cut somebody's lawn and cook a meal for them every now and then. You might be
Yeah.
invited into a lot of houses.
Well, remember we talked about that while I was deploying so much. The kids were like, when's dad coming back? We need normal food. We need
Yeah.
real food, not boxed, microwave stuff. Or we were talking about how it's Boston market for Thanksgiving, So kids are like, we need a real meal.
Yeah. Now, with all the places you lived, where were your kids born?
So my son was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, but that's a funny story too. So the base is on both, it's on the state line.
Mhm.
So the base is actually in Kentucky and Tennessee. So we had always told my son, I mean, we never really kind of looked at the birth certificate. This is the thing that happened, when he was older, but technically he was born on Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So the command headquarters for the base is on the Kentucky side. The hospital is on the Tennessee side. So when he was born, they gave him a Tennessee birth certificate. And we had always said he was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and he told everybody Kentucky. And then, like, as he was older, and I think it was like, I don't know, like middle school or something, he just was trying to figure out like why we told him the wrong place. He told everybody he was born in Kentucky, but it was at actually Tennessee. And then my daughter was born out in California, at Stanford Hospital. So I went back. I was stationed out as an Army recruiter, not by choice. I was voluntold,
Yep.
to go out and be a recruiter out in California. And she was born at Stanford Hospital in California.
I like the fact your son was born in Tennessee. I'm good with that. But it's kind of like the house. It's which row. If you live at a corner, I believe your address is based on which road your driveway is on.
It is.
Plain and
It
simple. You
is.
could be
Absolutely.
yeah. No.
People
Yeah,
think they are on one street,
yeah,
they're actually
yeah.
on another.
I bet it
Yeah.
was hilarious first time we looked at the birth certificate. It's like, you're my parents, right? I mean, you're not like I'm not adopted.
How do you not know where I live? And we actually reached out to other couples who we served with
Yeah.
on that base, and they were confused also. They're like, our kids were born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and Patty's like, no, look at the birth certificate.
Yeah.
It's Tennessee.
That's too
So,
funny. I
yeah.
like that. I like that. All right. So before we go here, for the people watching and listening, what's in the next 48 hours or 72 hours? What's something they need to do? Check their house, walk around the house, check the roof. Give me a couple things they need to just go peek at to see if they see anything.
Yeah, I think as you ground level walk around the home, look for things that will stand out, as in your gutters are maybe clogged. Look for shingles that are lifted. Just do not look flat, and look for some issues on the ridge cap. So a lot of times those little shingles will be blowing off, and if there's discoloration, if there's areas where it looks like there's a problem, absolutely have somebody come out and take a look at it. I think with StormGuard, it's great. We have 9 locations across North Carolina and South Carolina. So if you're in the Carolinas, there's a good chance there's a StormGuard by you.
And
Give them a call, and
Yep.
they all do those free assessments to come out.
Cool. And even if they walk around the house and everything looks in order, something that a lot of people don't pay attention to is if your gutter has creeped away from the roof, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
that water coming off the roof now is going to cause even more problems. So little things like that, right?
As the gutters get filled,
Yep.
that water comes back. It'll fill up the gutter. Basically the water will fill up and drop behind the gutter and affect the fascia.
Yep.
And if it gets up underneath that roof line, if you don't have, drip edge, one of the roofing components that's required by code, it's not on a lot of roofs here in North Carolina because there aren't roofing inspections required when you install a roof for re-roofing here. But if that barrier hasn't been installed, a lot of times that water will drop up underneath and behind the fascia and drip into the house. It could get into the soffit, and you'll see some of that wood deteriorating and going away. And a lot of times people will have leaks around the window, that they see on the inside of the house, and it's actually coming from above. So I know there are a lot of homeowners who love watching their crime scene shows, and I'm going to figure out this thing. We were just doing one the other day where he was bound and determined it was the window, and he did a caulking job on the window. Not the best caulking job.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like finger painting all around the outside of the window. And I helped the homeowner, but we ended up figuring out that it was a flashing issue above. And he
Yep.
was bound and determined. He had a couple other people come out, but we'll do a water test too. So we'll actually physically come out, because if that item is not, and that issue is not evident and it's clear, I will come out and I'll actually go through a full assessment of spraying water on it section by section until I get it to leak. And then it leaks, and I tell the homeowner, absolutely, this is your issue and this is how we're going to take care of it. And they appreciate that, because we could guesstimate, Mike, every time, go up there, hey, the gutters are full, that's probably your issue.
Yep.
I clean the gutters out and you're good, and then I get a call back a month later, hey, it's still doing it, right?
Yep.
So I love to run through that full assessment. It's not hard to look at those roofs a lot of times and be able to see those issues up there, see a shingle blown up, see a whole section of the roof come down. There are times that there are several sections of a roof that may come down, and it could be an installation issue. There could be nails that are just, the nails been overdriven into the shingle, and it just pops right through the mat on the shingle, and the whole section starts to come down.
There are many people like you in the home services world that have benefited by guys who tried to do it themselves.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's very true.
Yep.
Very true.
And
I think
I hope they keep doing it so people like you can make some good money. So, because they will.
I get homeowners that love to do it. And
Yep.
the craziest thing is, and I get it here often, Mike, I love, like, safety is one of our key things. If I put that ladder up, I'm going to go up and inspect the roof. And homeowner, I would love for you to just stay down here. Let me do what I need to do. And do you know how many of them love to try to follow me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most of them.
And
Yep.
it's always like the retired
Yep.
CIA or FBI agent,
Yep.
that, is 80 something years old, and I want to see what you're doing,
No, dude.
And I was like, I'll FaceTime you. If you really need to see it, and I've done it. I'll FaceTime you on the roof and I'll walk you through it.
All right, so we've been putting Mike's phone number up on the screen here during the show. If you have any doubt that you need your roof looked at, or it might be old or something like that, he gave you the keyword, folks. He will come out to your house for free, as will any StormGuard franchisee like Mike in the state of North Carolina. So call somebody to look, because if your house is your biggest investment, you need to give that a checkup. You take your car to the mechanic, you take your body to your doctor. Why are you not taking a house to somebody who's going to make sure it'll last longer and longer and longer? So, Mike, enjoyed the show. Loved the stories. The Fort Campbell and Tennessee thing, I like that. And the bike on the
Absolutely.
shoulder, I like that too. So, anyway,
Absolutely.
yep. So, folks, give some pros like Mike a call, and they'll take care of your house. And we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.